Okay, I'm back after the little crash, which gives me an opportunity to remind you of something very important. You need to be saving your work every few minutes. My rule of thumb is, every 5 to 10 minutes or every time you do something good. I got lucky this time that sometimes my computer does an auto recovery for me. It doesn't always go back to the most recent step I took, and I've been in situations, or I've had students in situations where they've been working away, did a really nice job, didn't save their work for well over an hour, 2 hours, and then, the system crashes on them or something, and all that work is gone. And, that happens one or two times, and you don't forget to save your work anymore. But I actually did forget to save it wasn't as critical for me because I already had a good copy of the file, and this was just a redo. Uh, but I always want to take that as an opportunity to remind my students how important it is to um, save their work. So, what I'm going to do, let's see here. I just want to duplicate what I did over here, right, with my eyes. Let me create a new layer called eyes. And I think the easiest way to do this is to create a circle first with a gray circle with a blue stroke in my case. Let's see, where are my swatches? Here we go. Let me get these over here so I can see what I'm doing. I think this was that was the color I had chosen for my. There we go. Okay, so I've got a gray fill and like a blue stroke on there. And what I did was I just created a circle. Am I in the right document? Here I am. Okay, so remember, to create a perfect circle, you need to hit your shift key. And if you want to draw the circle from the middle out, you need to hold your Alt if you're on a Mac, or your Option if you're on a, no, Alt if you're on a PC, or your Option if you're on a Mac. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hold my Shift and my Option key at the same time, and you see I get a little kind of a crosshair looking thing, and that's going to draw my circle from the inside out. Okay, and there's my and I still didn't. It still didn't take. What's going on? Why did I not get my? I was constantly running into trouble with my. I'm actually really going to take the. Here we go. Okay, so now I've got like a gray background with a blue stroke. If you'll notice over here, my blue stroke is a lot thicker. So, whoops, I went the wrong way. So I'm going to punch my stroke up. I don't like that color. Let's try that one. Eesh. Let's make that a little bit more gray. Knock a little bit more black into that. Okay. Punch that stroke up just a little bit. And I can, if I remember that if you're going to resize this thing, hold your shift key down. Let me show you something real quick. Okay, so your eyeball is a circle, right? We all know that your eye is probably about the size of a ping pong ball. Your iris is, a relatively small part of that. In fact, we don't really see much of the eyeball at all. If you really think about it, your eyeball is a sphere that all you can really see of it is what is showing between two little slits of skin that open up, okay? And I think that people tend to kind of override what they see and draw what they think they know when they start working with eyes, and that tends to make them look a little freakish. And so a lot of times you have to kind of stop and think for a second, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? People tend to do eyes way too big a lot of time, and they tend to look a little freaky. And so what I wanted to show you is, whoops, let me get that unlocked. There we go. Of course, I've already got my contour line in there to kind of indicate for me, how big I need to make the iris. And it doesn't have to match up. It doesn't have to be precise. Okay. It's good enough. Close enough is close enough. But, most of the eyeball is going behind the skin, right? You can kind of see it peeking out from behind the skin there. Okay. And that's the way it should be. If you can see you're going to very rarely see the top of anybody's iris unless they're excited or surprised or upset, or unless they have like some kind of medical condition that makes their eyes kind of bulge out a little bit. But usually if people are relaxed, their upper eyelid is going to cover at least part of the top of their iris. You may see the bottom of their iris, you may not. But you very, very rarely see the top of the iris. And so, really look at your picture and don't try to draw what you think you see, draw what you know. Okay, now I'm just going to make my life easy. I've already done this once, so why not just duplicate this, bring it over here. And remember to duplicate. It's your Alt key if you're on a PC or your Option key if you're on a Mac. Click and drag. Okay, and my other eye is a little farther away. And so just the law of perspective means that it's going to be a little smaller. It's also at a little bit of an angle. So I'm actually going to need to make that a little smaller. Remember to hold your Shift key when you're scaling it down, so that you don't distort it. Okay? And so there I've got my kind of gray with my blue outline. And then I had this little starburst looking thing in the middle that was kind of a turquoisey color. And I'm not sure what happened to that palette that I brought over from before when my computer crashed, but I'm not going to worry about it now. I'm just going to randomly sample something. How about if we choose this color right here? No stroke. And choose a, kind of a turquoisey fill. There we go. Oops. Alrighty. And so that's easy enough to do with the pen tool, right? And it doesn't have to be very precise at all, right? And there are a number of different ways you could do this. This was just my way of doing it. I went ahead and brought the opacity down on it just a little bit because I thought it looked a little weird. Whoops, that's the gradient tool. This is my opacity tool, transparency tool right here. Let me take the opacity down to bring it over here. Let me see. There we go, just to kind of tone it down a little bit. And then get my Option key, bring it over here, do the same thing, hold my Shift key, scale it down some. I can even, to make it more irregular or whatever, maybe I want to turn it a little bit so it doesn't match up exactly with the other eye. I didn't do the best job on this. I did a much better job on my first one, but I think you get the point. Okay, now I did my lips on a different layer. Remember, the eyes are on a layer below the skin midtones, right? the lips are on a layer above them because they're not being covered up by skin. The lips are actually on top of the skin. Hey, while we're at it, why don't we save our work? Okay, and the lips are something I also kind of worked on a little bit too much, and I realized, um, oh, less is more. Again, I put way too much detail in them, and they looked horrible. And I wound up just really paring them down and really making them look simple. And they looked a lot better. But I had a lot of little small shadows and highlights in there that just didn't work. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm saving my work because I'm all paranoid now. Okay, so real quick, let me just make the skin midtones layer invisible, and let's put a new layer for the lips right here. And I can actually do my lips and my dress on the same layer if I wanted to. I'm not going to do the dress for you because I think you guys get the idea. And I need to see my photograph. Okay. And I don't want to deal with sampling out from that other document. I don't want to deal with importing that library of of colors again. So we're just going to kind of fake it right here. How about go with this one and then no stroke? All right. So, and that's going to be way too dark, but I found that, again, don't go overboard on these just because, whoops, oh, that looks horrible. Just because maybe we wear lipstick or something doesn't mean that we want to, um, you know, make it look too freaky, right? I'm going to tone that down right away. Okay. So to tone something down, you can always add, go towards the gray. I don't want it to be really any darker. I just want it to be more neutral. So I'm going to come along and select, a color that's kind of in the same level of lightness and darkness, but that's a lot less bright. Okay, that to me looks a little better. And then I can always come back and tweak it later. All right. I don't think I can do that in 2 clicks. I think I'm going to have to do that. Yeah. It's good to use minimal anchor points, but you don't have to, go to the extreme of, so few that it makes your life impossible, right? You can always put more anchor points if you want. So what I had noticed on my lips was, there was a little bit of a shadow right here, a little bit of a highlight right in here. And so I'm actually just going to move that out of the way for a second. And I'm just going to draw out the shape of the shadow. And I decided against going with any of the texture on my lips because that just looked really bad. That was a mistake. Okay, let's go and change this color to something darker and again more gray. There we go. Something like that. And I know this doesn't look very good, but I'm just trying to rush through this for the purposes of the demo. And then one more time, let's get a highlight on there. And a lot of times what you'll find on the lip, if you think about, there's kind of a almost like a elliptical shape highlight that you'll see on the lower lip. And usually I think you're going to see that the lower lip is going to have more detail and definition than the upper lip. I mean, it really just depends on the person, but I think for the most part, you're going to see, more definition on the lower lip, and you don't really want to you don't really want to do too much. And I found that I don't really even mind if these things are a little bit crooked. I found that it just kind of gave them a little bit of a look that I actually liked. So I'm okay with that. And then finally, same thing for the hair. I just did a layer for the highlights and a layer for the shadows. And I don't think I'm going to demonstrate that because I think you guys probably get it at this point. That this was pretty easy to do, but I'll just kind of go back and refer to this one to show you what I have. Let's see here. Yeah. So just a lot of, you know, I really had to take a lot of liberties with this because I think with the hair, when I sampled out the colors that my hair actually was, it was very dull and very uninteresting. And so I really punched up the intensity of the color. I think I had also mentioned to you that at first I was sampling out various levels of white for my teeth and my eyes. And I thought, well, you know what? That's just kind of pointless because this is a graphic. And in graphics, what they'll do is white is the white of the paper. And everything looks a little bit better than real. And so you don't try to be so realistic on something like this as to make the teeth a little bit less white or make the eyes a little bit less white. Let them be as white can be. And so I just kind of dropped that idea altogether. And there's nothing, it's just empty space, just like in here where you've got the whites of the eyes and the whites of the teeth. And I'm just like, leave well enough alone. The last thing that I did down here, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's see. I just there was a little pattern on my dress, and I just did a couple of circles with a couple of different colors, a couple of different strokes. I did not take the time to do the jewelry I was wearing because I am really busy, and feel free to make yours as detailed as you want. But I have lots of other things I have to do, so this is about as far as I'm going to push mine. But I hope this was helpful. Just let me know if you need some assistance, and I really want to encourage you to look at your assigned readings. I've made the reference guide available for you for Adobe Illustrator, and I just really personally don't see any way that you can understand the program unless you just sit down and look at this stuff. Oh, you know what? I do have one last thing I wanted to show you that I think is really neat. It's something that we didn't used to have in Illustrator. And it's not 100% necessary because we're going to be, this won't show when you export this anyway, but this eraser tool is kind of cool. Let's see, how does this work? Yeah. This eraser, see how I've got some little parts sticking out over the edges here? If I get my eraser tool and press my Command key, I can draw a little marquee box, and I can just come along the edges on the outside right here. I guess I need to unlock my layers before I do that. Whoops. But anything that's sticking out past the edge or anything that I want to get rid of, I just draw a little box around it. Oh, I have to select it first. Sorry, guys. This is kind of a new to me tool, and of course now it's not working for me. Okay, never mind. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time. Oh, it's your it wasn't my command key, I'm sorry. It was my option or my alt key that I need to press down. And it makes a little box. And then you just draw a box along the edge of the outside. And anything that's sticking out past the edges just magically disappears. And that's really cool because it didn't used to be that easy in Illustrator. Okay, so that's all I have. Have fun. Good luck.